Hi Pilates people, this is the mat back care workout for October 2020. So we'll start in our supine lying position, feet far enough away from the bottom that we've got a right angle at our knee, parallel ankle, knee and hip joint position, long collarbones, arms pressed down by the sides, and our core muscles softly engaged, so we're drawing up into pelvic floor and into transverse. Keeping those two groups of muscles just very, very softly engaged. We'll start by mobilising into the back of the neck using a movement that we call skull rock. And with our skull rock, we just take a breath in, we rub the back of the head on the mat, breath out, we release. Head always stays in contact with the mat, and it should feel like you're just messing up your hair at the back of your head when you're rocking your head on the floor. We also describe this movement as a chin tuck. And the purpose of it is just to bring length into the cervical vertebra at the back of the neck. It also puts our head into the best position before we lift it off the mat. So our skull rock, our chin tuck is always part of our ab prep movement, our 100, our single leg stretch, especially if we are actually lifting our head up for those movements. And we can also use our skull rock if we're doing something like a hamstring stretch, and our chin starts to poke up into the air like this, and then we can use the skull rock just to bring our head and neck into better alignment. We're going to move from skull rock into nose circle next. Imagine there's a beam of light from your nose shining on the ceiling, and by gently moving your head in a circular movement, you will draw a beam of light on the ceiling. Important that your head stays in contact, so there's no pressure, no stress to your neck muscles. They're not having to lift the weight of the head. You'll go the opposite way. So your head is always supported by the mat, or if you do find that your neck is an issue when you are lying flat on your back, there is always the option of placing a small folded hand towel or a small cushion underneath the back of your head to bring your neck into better alignment. We'll make this our last circle, and then we're going to move to our shoulders. So I want you just to draw your shoulders back towards each other and let them release. Shoulder blades, sorry, this is, that you're retracting the shoulder girdle and releasing. And notice the position of your shoulder joint, the top of your arm, when you retract your shoulder girdle and you're pulling your shoulder blades towards each other. Your shoulder joint moves backwards. Now we will mobilise our shoulder joint now with a movement that's called dumbwaiter. And for this, it's important that you use that retraction. So if we retract the shoulder girdle, keep squeezing your shoulder blades towards each other, and then bend your arms at the elbow, so your palms are facing towards each other. From here, maintaining the shoulder girdle in retraction, we're going to externally rotate the arms so that the back of your forearms, the backs of your hands, are going down towards the floor. Now keep squeezing your shoulder blades together. If the muscles around the front of your shoulder joint are quite tight, you are really going to feel this as quite a strong stretch across the front of the shoulder capsule. And you may find that you can't get your arms and your hands to the floor without you flexing your wrists like this, okay? Do try to keep the wrists completely straight and still as you open up into your shoulder joint with your dumbwaiter. Two more repetitions, and then finishing our last one, we shall release those arms and just give the shoulders a little bit of a wiggle and a shake. So we're going to change position. We're going onto our side, And our next exercise will be hip joint mobility, and we're doing sideline leg circles. If you're not comfortable lying on an outstretched arm, please place a pad underneath your arm. Now, because we want to be in quite a stable position, we're going to leave our bottom leg bent and extend the top leg. So from the ankle, knee and hip on the top leg, we're making a nice straight line with our body. And then from the hip joint, we'll circle 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1, reversing 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So it's important with this movement that you are moving your leg and you're not moving your pelvis. Your pelvis stays nice and still. We're going to hold the leg there and we're going to move the ankle. We're circling our ankle now, using all of the muscles in the lower leg here to change the position of our foot. So do try to describe a great big circle and hold this leg statically in the air. We'll reverse the circle going the opposite way for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. Okay, releasing that down. We're going to lie on our back. We'll do alternate arm circles next. So do make sure you've got enough space above your head. Pelvis and spine in neutral, and from our supine lying position, retract the shoulder girdle. So you're squeezing those shoulder blades towards each other. Arms pressed flat. We're trying to take a full arm extension overhead and then circling around to the sides. We'll alternate arms. And you're trying to avoid flexing your wrist to touch your fingers down like this. This is what you're aiming for, a really nice straight arm as we extend over, so that the back of your wrist, back of your hand is touching the mat. And it will really, really help if you maintain that shoulder girdle retraction to increase the range of movement that is available to you at your shoulder joint. We'll work a couple more repetitions and then we'll be moving down to our pelvis and our lumbar spine. We'll take a breath in, just softly engage our core, breath out, rock back into posterior pelvic tilt, flattening the back to the mat, breath in, return to neutral. So it's our lumbar spine here that changes position. It goes into the flat back position and then we get a nice arch as it comes to neutral. Be very, very light with your feet. Emphasize the role of your abdominals when you flex and flatten. We're going to make this movement a little bit more complex now, so rather than just the backwards forwards tilt, we'll do pelvic clock where we circle. Our aim will be for 5 circles in one direction. So we're going side, back, side and neutral, and we'll follow that with 5 circles in the opposite direction, side, back, side and neutral. When we finish this last one, let's balance up those sideline leg circles. I'll turn my back to you. Our bottom leg's bent, our top leg's straight. We're lying on an outstretched arm. And from the leg that's in the air, right to our head, we're in a nice straight line. So the leg is in the float position, and then from the hip joint, we circle 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, reverse, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold the leg, ankle circle, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, reverse, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release it from there. Excellent. work. Okay, so we'll follow that by moving on to our back, and we will be working on rotation next, okay? First one we'll do is knee roll. So we are adducted together with our legs for this, and we will place our arms across our chest. Press your shoulder blades back and towards each other, so you're working with a nice retracted scapula there. And then from our adducted leg position, I want you to be aware of both of your shoulder blades staying in contact with the floor. Moving your pelvis, your legs and your feet as if it is all one fixed unit. Limit your rotations to how far you can keep both of your shoulder blades anchored to the mat evenly. This should feel like you're rolling your pelvis over to the side and then back to the center at the same time that you roll your feet. The knees move only because they are attached through the hip joint to the pelvis. Maintain focus on your connection through your shoulder blades, as well as the connection between the legs and the feet. This should make our rotation purposefully smaller than it is if we're working with a different arm line. And explore exactly how far you can go, keeping the shoulder blades anchored. Notice any differences between your rotations in one direction and the other. Evening everything up, we'll make that our last one. And then we're going to bring the legs and the feet back to the parallel stance, so we've got that small gap between them. Placing our arms into a position, I'm going to call it Cossack arms, just because you're working with your arms placed on top of each other like this, okay? Now we are going to work on thoracic rotations, but this is slightly different. You're going to turn your head and your shoulders, and you're going to try to press your arm down towards the floor on one side, come back to the center, and then turn your head and shoulders and try to press your arm to the floor on the opposite side and come back to center. As we do this, we want our pelvis and our legs to stay completely still. Notice your range of movement, going from one side to the other. I'll just spin around and show you this way. So I'm finding it quite difficult on that side when I am rotating to my left to get my arm down onto the floor. Whereas when I rotate to my right, I've got no problem at all getting my arm down to the floor. And I'm finding that on my left here, I'm really pushing quite hard into my right foot, or I was, to get my arm down. But now that I've noticed that I've pushed really hard into my right foot to get my arm down to my left, I'm no longer doing that. So I'm being very, very light on my feet. And that is really quite a strong stretch for me that way. We'll even up our repetitions. Now I always start going to my right because I'm dominant on the right hand side, and that's why it's easier for me to turn to my right and not to my left. It's that one-handed dominance. Now following on from our Cossack arms, our Cossack rotations, we're coming on to our side, and we shall now be working isometric abdominals on our side. You're going to bend your knees for this one so that your feet are in line with your bottom. You're propped up onto your elbow with your elbow directly underneath your shoulder. Now your first movement here, if you notice the line of my spine, I'm a little bit flexed to the side. So I want to bring my spine to a position where it's in a really, really straight line. So that is our first movement, bringing our spine to a diagonal straight line, engaging our core muscles. And then we're going to place our hand, let's go here, on our leg, okay? So maintaining the spine in the diagonal line, I'm going to raise, hold, and lower. Again, keep the diagonal, raise, hold, and lower. Keep it, raise, hold, and lower. All the while scooping into pelvic floor transverse and lower. Raise, hold, and lower. Raise, hold, and lower. Raise, hold, and lower. Last time. Raise, hold, and lower. Wonderful work. Okay, from there, we're going to lie down and just take a stretch into the front of the thigh. Revisiting pelvic tilt, we're going to work on our back next. And we are going to go into posterior pelvic tilt and hold flat back. And then as we hold flat back, we're going to try to bring our right knee up and down, okay? Keeping our back flat to the floor. So we're back to supine lying, but we go into posterior pelvic tilt. We flatten the lumbar spine. The gap between our rib cage and our pelvis is short. So you're keeping your back pressed down flat to the floor, retract and push the arms down. And then with one leg, maintaining the flat back, we bring the knee in, 8, tap, 7, tap, 6, tap. Keep pushing down with those abdominals. 4, tap, 3, tap, 2, tap, last one, tap and change. 1, tap, 2, tap. Now this exercise is a really good exercise for the lower part of the rectus abdominals. So it's an abdominal strengthening exercise, but for the rectus abdominals. 4, tap, 5, tap, 6, tap, 7, tap, 8, tap, releasing. So your back should still be flat on the floor, and it should have been flat on the floor throughout that. You can now release it. Changing how we're working. I'll turn around for this one. We're going to pelvic tilt again, but this time it will be from a semi-reclining position. So in this position, we have our arms on the mat. Your elbows should be in a straight line underneath your shoulders. Make sure they're not too close to your body here, so they are behind you. Your legs are straight, and then you're going to try to pelvic tilt and release. And if you notice, when I pelvic tilt and I'm on my elbows, I'm getting that draw up. My heels are sliding up the mat. My legs are sliding up the mat as I'm pelvic tilting and releasing. We'll try for 4 more and 3 more. Last 2 and last 1. Releasing. Well done. Let's do isometric abs on the opposite side. Placing our elbow directly underneath our shoulder, our palm flat to the floor. Top arm is extended along the body, and then we bring our spine to a straight diagonal line. We engage our core muscles. Raise, hold, and lower. Raise, hold, and lower. Raise, hold, and lower. Keep the diagonal. Raise, hold, and lower. We've got 4 more to go. Raise, hold, lower. Raise, hold, lower. Last 2. Raise, hold, and lower. Last one, feeling it here now. Raise, hold, and lower. Wonderful. We're going on to our tummy next, and we'll be working static glutes. So for this exercise, when we're lying on our tummy, I should like you to have your toes tucked under. Your hands underneath your head. We'll tighten our thighs and clench our buttocks. Release it down. Tighten the thighs and clench the buttocks. Releasing. Tighten the thighs, clench the buttocks. Release. Tighten the thighs and clench the buttocks. So as you're tightening your thighs, you should find that part of the front of your thigh comes off the mat and it's not in contact with the mat anymore. Visualize you are kissing your buttocks together. We'll do a couple more repetitions. And last one. From there, we shall just stretch it back into our shell position. So our toes are flat. We're going to push ourselves up and back and lengthen the arms out. Releasing to kneeling. Now in our kneeling position, arms down by our sides. Now I would just like you to gently reach your hand down your leg, keeping your pelvis as still as you can. Notice how the stretch feels for each side of your back. And notice your range of movement on each side. Is the one side that you have got more movement on? So this is my stiffer side. And this is my more flexible side. And you can see that in how far down your hand manages to get down your leg. Our aim is for one more to each side. So we're always looking to try to have symmetry as much as we can. When we finish that last one, we'll release. We're going to lie on our back next. We'll do some work for the inner thigh, and we'll also do work to strengthen and stabilise the pelvis and spine in neutral. We're using ab prep to strengthen and stabilise the spine in neutral, and we're using a progression from September's ab prep, okay? So in September, when we were working on our ab prep, we were lying on the floor. We had our pelvis and spine in the neutral position. Our right leg straight, fingers by the ears, and we had started with a rock into chin tuck, a raise of our head and shoulders, a hold at the top, and a release down. So this time, if you can still keep this neutral, we can lift the right leg simultaneously as we raise our head and shoulders. So we breathe in to engage our core and rock our head. We breathe out to raise the head, the shoulder blades and the legs. So just check you're still neutral. Breath in, hold, and breath out, lower. Remember to have your foot flexed with your toe pointing to the ceiling. Breath in, engage and rock. Breath out, raise. So your ankle position is important. Breath in, hold, so push your heel away. And breath out, lower. Breath in, engage and rock. Breath out, raise. Now we're going to stay here, and when we're in this position, I would like you to point, flex, point, flex, point, flex. Can we do another one? Point and flex before lowering down. So we engage and rock. We exhale, raise. Now, if you're not quite ready yet for that leg lift, point, flex. I'll show you how to modify this next time. Point, flex, point, and flex, releasing down. So if you have been working with your leg down, you engage and rock, you exhale to lift the head and shoulders, and then you can still do your point and flex here. Point, flex, point, flex. So the leg stays extended along the mat. One more, point and flex, releasing down. Let's go one more on this side, engage and rock. Exhale, raise. So work at the level that's right for you. Point, flex, point, flex, point, flex, point, and flex, releasing down. Returning to your supine lying position, we are going to work the inner thigh on our right leg. We're going to do this by bringing our leg into tabletop, okay? Now that right leg's at tabletop. Our movement will be to open and close the leg. So we're abducting and adducting the leg at the hip. There's no rotation into the hip here. It's purely going, the whole leg is going out to the side and coming back into the center. You are keeping your pelvis still as that leg goes out to the side and comes back to the center. And you'll feel the inner thigh work to pull it back in. So the bones at the front of the pelvis should stay completely still and neutral. Now watch your left leg. Make sure that it doesn't go out in opposition to your right leg. You are keeping that nice and still. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, release that down. Let's do the same exercise for left leg. So we're bringing left leg into tabletop, keeping this neutral. We open and close. Open and close. So that leg's going right out to the side and back to the center. Out and in. Pelvis stays nice and still. Open and close. So just like the hinge on a door, you want your hip joint to be like for this movement. Non-moving leg should definitely be non-moving. And our pelvis really nice and still. So we're resisting against letting the pelvis rotate over as that knee goes out. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Releasing. Left leg long. Ab crack, left leg extended. Neutral pelvis, fingers by ears. So we engage the core, we rock our head. Exhale to lift. Inhale to hold. And exhale to lower, making it harder. We engage the core, we rock our head. As we lift our head and shoulders, we combine it with a lift of the leg. We should still be neutral here. Breath in, hold. And breath out, lower. Engage and rock. Exhale, lift. Inhale, hold. Exhale, lower. Engage, rock. Exhale, lift. Inhale, hold. Exhale, lower. At the point and flex, engage and rock. Exhale, lift. Point, flex. Point, flex, point, flex, point, and flex. Lower it down. If you're not ready to lift the leg, engage the core, rock the head, lift your head and shoulders, and then you point, flex, point, flex, point, flex, point and flex, releasing down. Engage and rock. Exhale, lift, hold it, point, flex. Now you do need to be quite strict with yourself here because you may find that your long leg starts to bend at the knee as you get fatigued. We want to keep that leg nice and long. Engage and rock. Exhale, lift, point, flex, point, flex, point, flex, point and flex. Lowering down. We've got 2 more to do. Engage and rock. Exhale, lift. And it's okay to mix and match. If you're getting a bit fatigued, keep the leg down. Point, flex, point, flex, point, flex, point and flex. Last one. Engage, rock. Exhale, raise. We're still neutral. Point, flex, point, flex, point, flex, point and flex, releasing down. Just lengthen out, full body stretch. Now if you have difficulty getting your arms over your head, you can take them a little bit wider until you've actually got your arms down on the floor. So you want the backs of your wrists and your arms on the floor without your elbows bending. So do go a little bit wider if you need to. If you find it really easy to get your arms over your head, go into posterior pelvic tilt and flat back, and then pull your shoulder blades down your back. So you're statically contracting the muscles that are drawing your shoulder blades down your back. And as you keep those muscles statically contracted, you should start to feel some stretch into the front of your shoulder joint. So around about the armpit, arm region at the front of that shoulder joint. Releasing. Lovely work. Changing the way that we are working next. We're going to lie, let's come to 4-point kneeling. And we will come into cat stretch. Flexing our spine and extending our spine. Flexing our spine and extending our spine. So our spine has been quite still and quite static while we've been working on our ab prep and our inner thighs. We'll make this our last one. Now holding neutral is going to be the aim of the next exercise. I'm just going to move back a wee bit. And when we're in neutral, this should be as if we are balancing. I'm just going to go and get my spine stick, a plank of wood or a stick of wood along the back of the spine. We're trying to get ourselves as close to the ideal as possible so that the back of our skull, and this should be the position, the back of your skull that does the skull rock movement when you're lying on the back, on your back and you're doing that chin tuck and release. So it's that part of your skull that should be touching the wooden stick in between your shoulder blades and your sacrum. So when we are in our 4-point kneeling position with our hands under shoulders, knees underneath hips, that is the position that we're trying to keep our spine in. Okay, so that's your visualization. So it's important that you're looking, I focus down at the mat in front of your fingers. I'm going to move that stick off, or it will fall off. And then from here, without moving out of neutral, we engage our core, we take our weight into one hand and the opposite knee. And then we slide the fingers and toes of the unloaded leg and arm just out to a position that we call pinpoint. From pinpoint, we're going to do a very, very slow raise and lower. Our hand and our foot are not allowed to come higher than our shoulder and our hip. So we'll raise slowly for the count of 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Down for the count of 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Raise. 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower. 4, 3, 2, 1. Raise. 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower. 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time. Getting a bit wobbly now. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower. 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we're back to pinpoint. Without moving our shoulder girdle or our pelvic girdle or our spine, we come back to 4 points. Shift our weight onto the opposite hand, opposite knee, and then we send the other tab finger out to pinpoint. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side, raising for the count of 4. 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower. 2, 3, 4. Continue with that. Now I know that the kneeling position doesn't suit everybody. So if this is an exercise that you need to change, what you can do is lie on your tummy and work on static, I'll show you, abdominal contraction. So you're face down and you're just lifting the abdominal wall. So your pelvis, your legs, your chest, your head, it's all in contact, but it's just the soft tissue of the abdominal wall that you're trying to lift away. So if you've been doing your 4 counts for lift and lower, you'll be on your last one, coming down out of it into your pinpoint position, and then we'll come back to our 4-point position. Lovely. We'll all lie on our tummy next, and we're going to do some isometric abdominals. Place your elbows directly underneath your shoulders and your hands on the floor. Now tuck your toes under, tighten your core muscles, your legs, and then bring your spine to a straight line and lower. Again, tighten thighs, abdominals, straight line and lower. Let's go. Straight and lower. And again. Straight line and lower. Keep going. You've got 4 more. Straight line. It's quite hard work. And lower. And 3. And lower. So it's a really dynamic exercise. Last 2. And lower. Ooh, sore shoulders. 1 more. And lower. Now, if you do find that you needed to stop partway through that and take a rest, that is absolutely fine. You can build up to doing the 8 repetitions of that as you get stronger. That was quite a tough one. Well done for even having a go. Now, the next one's quite a tough one, and this is a bit of a strange one. We've never done anything like this before in class. You are either going to need a hard block or a really big, solid, hard back book. This goes underneath our heels. We're lying on our back with our legs straight. When we've got that block underneath our heels, our arms are pressed down, and we're going to engage our core muscles and then try to lift our bottom away from the mat, so we've got a gap between the back of your body and the mat, and then we lower. Let's go again. So statically contract your legs, squeeze your bum, lift, hold, and lower. And again, lift, hold, and lower. Now this is just a different way of doing hip extensions, because basically what we're doing is we are extending the hip, but we just happen to be lying down on our back. When we've done hip extensions before in class, we have always been lying on our tummy or in 4-point kneeling, and we have lifted our leg behind us. So this is the reverse movement. We're lifting against gravity, and we're lifting our body weight against gravity, so it is fairly tough. So we make all the muscles nice and tight. We lift, hold, and lower. Tighten the muscles. Lift, hold, and lower. Let's go 1 more. Tighten, lift, hold, oh my word, and lower. Wonderful work. That block that was underneath our heels, we're going to just pop it underneath our pelvis. So you've still got a gap here between your back and the floor. Your block's on the pelvis. We'll have one leg straight. And then I should like you to bring your other knee towards your chest and allow your pelvis to tip backwards. So your lower back starts to drop towards the floor, but because your pelvis is raised on the block, it won't touch the floor. Hugging this knee towards our chest. On our straight leg, I want you to tighten your buttock. And as you tighten the buttock, the bulk of the buttock muscle will actually raise your pelvis a little bit higher than it was. And it may be, did you notice the way my foot came off the floor? So it may be that your foot actually comes off the floor when you do that. And that is good, because then that allows gravity to stretch into the hip. We'll hold it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then uncontract your buttock or relax your buttock. Your leg will probably drop down. We'll change legs. So we've got the other leg out straight, pelvis on the block, other book, knees towards the chest, and then this buttock, squeeze it. Keep that posterior tilt. And the stretch should be across the front of the hip and running down into the leg on that long leg. Now it's really important that you keep clenching this buttock. Do not let that connection go away. Holding 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then you can relax your buttock, release your leg. Remove the block. You're not going to need that now. I'll just pop that down there. Keeping your pelvis in neutral, we shall bring one leg towards the chest, so you've still got a gap, and then extend the leg at the knee. The stretch is going to be in the back of the thigh. Combine this with ankle movement of flex and point, flex and point. Really pushing your heel towards the ceiling when you flex, so that you are triggering stretch into your calf muscle as well. For 2 more, and 1 more, and then we'll release that ankle, release the knee. Same on the opposite side, so keep the neutral as the knee comes in, keep the neutral as you extend, ankle, flex, point, flex, point, flex, point, flex, and point. For 4, point, 3, point, 2, point, 1, and point, and release. Excellent work. So our next exercise, we will be taking one leg straight. We're going to cross the opposite leg over, and then I want you just to try to pull your knee over to the side. The stretch will be in the top of the hip. Don't let your pelvis rotate over with this one, so keep your pelvis still as you pull that knee over. Soft breaths as you allow your muscles to relax into position. And then release the knee and change legs. So you've got opposite hand to your knee, you're pulling the knee over, and the stretch will be in the hip. If you find it a little bit tough to reach your knee, you could always wrap a belt or a dressing gown cord around your leg and pull on that instead. Okay, releasing. Inner thigh stretches on our back. If we allow our feet to go together, let the knees come apart, and then we'll pelvic tilt, going into a posterior tilt and release. A posterior tilt, so you're really trying to flatten your back to the floor and release. And you may notice that as I'm doing this, my knees are inadvertently lifting and lowering as I change the position of my pelvis. And because the position of your hip joint changes, then it will affect your legs. We're going to hold the posterior tilt, and we're going to try to just press the knees open a little bit more. And that should give us quite a strong stretch high up into the groin area that we'll hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll stop pressing, we'll release it. Turning onto your non-preferred side, so if you turn onto the side opposite the side that you normally get out of bed on, so I normally get out of bed that way, I'm turning this way, we're going to push ourselves up. And then we're going to do a long adductor stretch. This is a bit of a tough one. So your book or your block might come in really, really handy here to sit on. For this one, we're trying to take our legs as far apart from each other as we can. And you may find just the action of getting your heels far apart gives you quite a tremendous stretch down the inside of your thighs. If it does, just sit there. For those of you who are relatively flexible, you may find that you can get your heels nice and wide, but you don't feel too much of a stretch here. If that is the case, keep a straight line from the crown of your head to the tip of your tailbone and lean forwards into it. You're trying to avoid flexing your spine when you do this, so you don't want to round your back and drop yourself down towards the floor like this. Keep the neutral and rock into it from your hip. Okay, sit up straight again. Let's add a little bit of a side stretch. Again, this is quite tough. Place one hand on the mat quite far away from your body. The other arm goes into the air, and then you're going to slide that hand as far away from your body as you can. Be careful that your hip bone doesn't come off, so your sitting bone doesn't come off the block. Keep it anchored and reach through your fingertips. So you're really lengthening the arm over. This should give you a good stretch into your lats, and you may feel this in your back, as well as still feeling that inner thigh stretch. Slide the hand back up, switch arms, pop the other hand down, slide away, hold it there. And slide it up. Wonderfully done. We can now release our legs from that position and bend our knees. Bringing ourselves to standing, we'll do some calf stretches. So our first stretch is for the upper calf muscle, the gastrocnemius. And you've got your back leg straight, your feet on both legs facing in the same direction, and you should feel this high up in the calf here. And then our second stretch, we bring the back leg in and we sit down into it as if you're sitting on the edge of a bar stool. Now it's your back knee that's important. You're pushing that down towards the floor. You should feel this stretch round about in the Achilles area and the lower calf muscle on that back leg. So all of your weight's actually on the back leg. You'll be able to point your toe on your front leg, and there's not much weight in that front leg at all. Releasing. Changing the legs over, so start with your gastrocnemius stretch on your back leg, pushing your heel down. And then slide the back leg in, bending both knees, sitting on the edge of that bar stool. All your weight is on your back leg. Can you point your front toe? And release. We'll challenge our balance by doing a standing quad stretch. If you do want to go to the wall and hold the wall for this, please do so. But a little tip is if you hold your ear, it generally helps you to keep your balance. So we're going to bring one of our feet towards our bottom, holding onto our ankle or our lower leg. Try to move the leg back and then tuck your tail between your legs. So your knee, you're trying to get it beyond the line of the other knee if you're able to. But definitely that tuck of the tail between the legs should get a good stretch into the hip. Release and change. And gently release. We've finished session. Take a lovely deep breath in, stretch towards the ceiling, Give me a little bit of an extension back, so you're just leaning back, trying to reach your arms high, look up towards your hands, and then release. I hope you've enjoyed October's mat back care routine and you get a lot out of it. Happy practicing.